Hello and welcome to Models Do Interesting and Intelligent Things. I'm your host, Peyton George, here with my co-host, Trin Kellen. Today we're going to be discussing what it takes to be a model and how to become a model. So Trin, how are you today?
I'm okay. How are you? Not Trin. Peyton.
I am Peyton. Yes. So let's start off a little bit about how we got into the modeling industry.
So, we both were submitting to modeling agencies online.
Yeah.
And then we got a local casting call. It was like a local
Which
call.
never happens in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, but it just so happened to happen like the only year they did it. And it was like for like a real production company that also does New York Fashion Weeks and LA Fashion Weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we got connected to go, or we just heard about it through like a friend of a friend. And we went to that casting and we got in contact with the girl who kind of was running the models, and she took us on after that.
Yeah, so through this we met a number of people, the head of production, a couple of designers, our modeling agent, and then a model mentor who helped us with our walks, just like the basic steps leading up to the show. And it was just a one-day runway show that was here, and it was local, which eventually led to New York and LA. And then those opportunities kind of just led to more opportunity through doing that. So let's talk about what they look for in a model. And it's not that you have to be anything specific. You can kind of be the exception to any rule, but they look for a general vicinity of things of a girl.
Especially for runway. I think it's more strict for runway. I think nowadays commercial is kind of
Can be
anyone and anything.
Yeah, but there are certain things that they look for, and you don't have to have all of them. You don't even have to have any of them if you have something kind of special.
But they want. It's kind of just to the whims of the people. I mean, the agencies aren't machines. They're just people making decisions. People in rooms holding up your picture.
Yeah, so sometimes it can be a connection that leads you. Sometimes it can just be a job, or looking really good on camera, or being tall and thin, or being different than that, and just being that's what someone's looking for. I feel like there are a certain amount of things as a model in the industry you have to be prepared for mentally.
Yeah. So what I found, just kind of, well, like the few like bigger agencies we've met with in New York, I mean, usually they say 5'9" and up, but a lot of times they have girls signed like 5'7", 5'8",
5'6",
5'6" too. They say all sizes, most of them nowadays, but they have a lot of size 0, like 23, like 22 to 25 inch waist is usually what I find.
Right, and I don't think this is to be discouraging. I think you should be encouraged because you don't have to have any of the requirements that you need that they usually say to model. You don't have to be 5'10", size 0, have the perfect walk, and have connections to be a model. You don't need all that. If you want to be a model and you have the drive to be a model, and you can't ever be a size 0, that's okay too.
There's definitely, not size 0 models, especially nowadays. And I know even like plus size models are just like, which is like a lot bigger than a size 0, right? It's not even like straight size. Like, that's kind of the market right now.
There definitely is a range of sizes. I see that like all the time, and I also wouldn't be afraid to be shorter or bigger or smaller, because if a designer likes you and wants you, he's gonna make it work, and he's gonna make it fit. And like, designers are designers not because they just have like a line of clothes and like pop it on you like a rag, but they want it to look the best on the model that they have the idea for. So like, if the dress is too big or too small, they can fix that. Don't feel discouraged. Like, I'm 5'8", and I've just been told so many times that, from people who may have, you know, like, ideas about the fashion industry in their head, especially from like the past, like from the 90s and the 2000s, that like I wouldn't be able to walk because I'm like shorter than a lot of the other girls. And that just wasn't really true for me. And there was definitely some designers that wanted taller, but if you're there and they like your look, they'll still take you.
Yeah, and
it can just depend.
I find that a lot of times, like, it's like the people like surrounding the fashion industry, like trying to break in, like not very established X, Y, and Z, that will tell you that you're like probably not good enough. You probably can't do it. It's really hard to break in because they've had a hard time breaking in, and you shouldn't let that reflect on to you. Don't let, like, because they're just kind of projecting their insecurities onto you. And then I found that, like, all those things that were said to me, when I actually, like, was talking to, like, the actual designers and, like, the people who are actually running the show, they, like, that didn't even, like, cross their minds. Like, all those things that people said, like, they had a problem with me, or that this might be a problem. It wasn't ever a problem. It was just...
A lot of times, yeah, designers would tell me they're not looking for a certain height. Like, you don't need to look insecure about your height or wear heels that you're going to twist your ankle in. Like, it's really about, like, just a look that they're looking for, and it's about a walk, and it's about a vision that they have in their head, and it really doesn't have anything to do with just being this model perfect. And a lot of times it doesn't even have to do with being like the most beautiful girl in the world, because that's just not everything that everyone's looking for all the time. Like, maybe if it's Victoria's Secret, they're looking for this bombshell type look, but for majority of shows, that's not exactly what they're looking for. Everyone has their own idea of beauty. Even if we have a beauty standard, everyone deviates from that somewhat.
And it's so true that, like, there's just so many different markets, even if they're, like, all seem really similar. Like, if you're just like, I want to be a high fashion runway model, there's still so many different markets in that one category. So you don't have to be like, don't be like, I don't look like Bella Hadid, or I don't look like Victoria, and so I can't be a model. Like, that's so not true. And like, there's just so many ways to be a model, even if you're like, I want to be high fashion, but I'm not, like, fitting that category. There's so many different brands that are just looking for a different look.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. It might be this misconception that, like, you're like, oh, Kendall Jenner and Victoria and Bella, they all look alike when they're walking the same show. But, like, hair and makeup and outfit can do so much because they're all done up the same way. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always how they look. Because I don't think, like, Kendall and Bella really look that much alike. And, like, Gigi and Bella are sisters, but they have completely different vibes and walk the same show and can, like, look alike sometimes. But you'll just see, like, different people with different looks, like, walking different things. And, like, after talking to a number of agencies, I've been told many different things. Like, I belong more commercial, more catalog. But then I've been told I'm more, like, high fashion, more editorial. That I should be signed to, like, a #1 agency in New York. Versus, like, I should go to Japan. Or I should, you know, look to get into more to acting.
Yeah. I've found... I don't know. I found that I've been told really, like, one like, I've always been told, like, you're just, like, high fashion New York, and, so that just, like, varies on our experiences, like,
Yeah.
we look different, but people see different things in us, but I've also had, like, well, just agency-wise, I've been told that I'm pretty much just high fashion, but that could change, and I have, like, different designers and photographers will definitely, like, say different things about me, like, some designers, like, think I'm, like, look like a Victoria's Secret angel, and like, some people are, like, and I've had other designers be, like, I don't know why you're here, like, you like I'm looking for somebody who's, like, beautiful, or, like, this, and, like, and then, you know, it's just really, also, and I think, if you're, like, I really want to be signed to this one agency, and you're kind of discouraged, looking like, oh, all these girls are, like, the same, and you're different from them, I don't think that should discourage you. I think that should really actually encourage you, because these agencies are just looking to get money at the end of the day, and if they have, like, they want to have, like, a range of girls, so, like, when their brand calls up, like, that brand calls up, and it's, like, we're looking for whatever, like, a 5'6" blonde girl, like, they want to be able to have that, and it's like, oh no, we only have, like, 5'10" brunettes, like, that's,
Yeah.
they want to have, at the end of the day, they are looking to have, like, a range, so that they...
Yeah, and I think a lot has even changed in the modeling industry, even just since COVID. Like, now it's 2023, and we can just see, like, big shifts happening, and I don't want to say, like, my experience modeling has been any negative. Not really. I mean, I haven't really went through, like, a lot of hardship or stuff. Like, some people say I can't really do things, or, you know, have said negative things, but I feel like as long as you're secure enough and have tough enough skin to not let little tiny comments, like, don't dig into it, don't feed into it, don't overthink it. I mean, people just say things all the time.
Yeah, a lot of times I think it's like, some model will say that I've had a great experience, and some model will be like, I've had a terrible experience, but maybe they've just had the same petty comments been said to them.
Yeah, but you can't let them eat at you.
Yeah.
You just gotta brush them off. Everyone's getting them, and, like, I see all the models, and they're all beautiful.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, you have every right to be there as anyone else, no matter how you look or how much experience you have.
Yeah.
Because models are, like, not this... I think we have this cultural idea of models that they're this, like, unachievable thing, and they're supposed to be, like, this one idea and this pinnacle of, like, perfection. But at the end of the day, they're just people, and, like, every top model you see has something about them that is not, like, the quote-unquote perfect ideal of, like, of what a model should be.
Right, and, like, this ideal also changes so quick, and fashion is always the industry that changes the quickest. Like, one designer will be in one day and out the next, and a model's look will be in one day. Like, for a long time, not even a long time, couple years, it was the androgynous look, and we've, like, kind of shifted back to this more, like beautiful, like, big lips, and, like, beautiful, like, traditionally, like, more, like, American beauty, like, you know, like, more, you know what I'm saying, like, sultry, and then, like, you know, it just can, like, switch so quickly, and so you just never know who they're looking for, and, like, different, I think also now, because there's so many brands, and your reach can be anywhere, just because of the internet and social media, that they're looking for everyone, because everyone's, like, it's kind of the same thing as, like, trends.
Also, yeah, you don't have to get, like, your approval card, like, from an agency at first, if that's not your path. And it's, like, I did, like, the online submissions to all the agencies and, like, got rejected. I mean, not rejected, but, like, they just, you know, they don't respond, which I guess is rejection. But I don't really take that as rejection.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, they get thousands
every
single day, And you can't really expect them to get back to you. It has to be, if you're submitting online, it's kind of just almost like luck.
It has to be like the stars align. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah,
basically.
a little bit. And it's not that you or that other model has anything better. Maybe your photos have a better angle or better lighting, but you know, it just like, yeah, all the stars have to align. But here's something that, like, if you have a designer come into your town or gonna like do a show that's near you, you should try to DM them.
Yeah, or even like a local brand. But to finish what I was gonna say, some of those same agencies that like I submitted to and never got a response from, came reaching out to me like a year or two later. So it's just, you kind of have to make them see you sometimes. Because they just, I mean, a lot of times they kind of lack this, like, vision. That, like, that really more, like, because they're not creatives, they're business people. And the photographers and the designers are going to have more of that vision and see you in that.
Right.
In that light of what you could be or your potential.
And, yeah, I don't think when you're beginning that you need to do like all these things that like the agencies tell you to do. They'll tell you to like get this certain photographer and do
your comp card this way, and
you're gonna change your comp card. You're gonna get 1,000 different pictures. The best way to do it is to reach out to local photographers that will collaborate with you without pay on either side. I would try, or like even if you have a friend that's like an amateur photographer, try to just get the best photos that you can to start submitting and to like start your portfolio. And then once you have that and it's on your Instagram and it's on like, if you have a digital portfolio and or a physical portfolio, then you can start to build on top of that and just take it one step at a time. Because like we're still just taking it one step at a time, and we've gotten agencies knocking at our door and we've knocked at their door and there's been interest, and it's only, I mean, we're just trying to be patient with it right now, even to know what our next steps are, because we're not trying to just jump on the first person that wants us and wants us to do all these certain things. Like if we want to go internationally or go to wherever or stay here or pursue a different path, it's you really have to take your time and think about it, especially when you're trying to make a career of it.
And also, I mean, no matter what level of model you are, if you're the top model, modeling's still a waiting game. Yeah. It's always going to be a waiting game, and that's like the career it is. And also, if you're in it because you want to be rich and famous, I'd say try something else to be rich and famous. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich and famous, but
I tried being like a YouTuber.
I'd go maybe like YouTuber. TikTok's really good right now.
TikTok's a great algorithm.
And it's like, just like in the sense, modeling it's not going to make you that much money. Even if you're the most successful model out there, it's not going to make you money. Like, good money. Yeah. And you're like, well, like, Kendall Jenner gets paid $20 million. She gets paid $20 million because she's Kendall Jenner, because she's doing all this other thing, all these other entrepreneurships, because she's like born famous. But your top models, your Sora Choi's, like, she's not getting paid a lot. She's not rich. Yeah. And you're not gonna be that famous, even if you're the most famous model. Yeah. So. And you might have a really good year, but the next year might just not be your year. You might not be. Can we hold? Can we have quiet on the set? So 1 year you might be, the new face that everyone wants to sign you, and the next year that might not be the case, and that happens for every model. And like Bella Hadid just had a really good year, and then she decided to take a break from it, which
I honestly feel like if she decided or not, that people would, like, it would have happened anyway, sooner or later, like, within the span of, like, maybe a year.
Yeah, modeling is also just not a sustainable career.
Yeah,
If you're Kate Moss, she has to do other things. She can't just model anymore. She has to be the Diet Coke and brand ambassador. She has to run her own modeling agency. And it's like, your career can be in fashion or in modeling, but that's not, you're not, and you can still, like, well, obviously she was such a great model, she still walks the show sometimes, but, like, you can't be a model for your career, almost.
I mean, yeah. It's kind of like people just get tired of seeing the same thing, especially, like, fashion is always about, like, the new, the next. And so that's why we don't just, like, keep something in the same place as it always was. We don't wear the same, like, if you're in fashion, you don't wear the same dress every single year. Every single show, you're going to be wearing something new. That's why they want, like, new faces and new looks, a new line.
This is not to discourage anyone. That's also good. If you're trying to break in, models are always in and out, in and out, in and out. So you can get in there. And that's not to just discourage anyone or say you shouldn't go for modeling. I think you should. And I think modeling can get you so many connections to go, like, so many different directions of whatever you want to do later on. And you don't even necessarily need to think about that if you're just, like, young and, like, I want to model.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should 100% go for it.
It can also just be a good way to see the world and travel and maybe make a little bit of money while you do it. It can also lead to other passions, like, for example, one of our friends is, like, making her own line, who is a model. Or, like, sometimes people become stylists because they really like that part of it. Sometimes people realize they just want to be, like, a fashion influencer, or maybe they want to be a photographer, or, like, even, like, assisting in something, or running your own modeling agency. Like, I see models, like, really be able to, like, try out a lot of different things just from having your foot in the door in the industry.
And it's a great way to get a lot of connections in every which way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really great to do. I think regardless of if you're passionate enough about it to, like, work at it, it's, like, such a great thing to do, honestly, because you will get connections, like, everywhere in, like, ways that you wouldn't even imagine before.
And there's, like, no rush, like the rush of your first runway show. Like, it is just, you feel like you're walking on cloud 9.
Yeah, it's a great experience.
Yeah.
But I think it can get really draining really fast, and I kind of can see it in a lot of other models too, especially runway. And runway's gonna, I don't know if I should say this, but I feel like runway is gonna pay the worst. You're probably gonna, and it's probably the most, like, not degrading, but just, you kind of are
tiring,
treated most like a commodity, rather than if you're, like, at a commercial.
Yeah, because
photo shoot.
I mean, well, it's a live production, so things need to be on time. There's a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of things that are going into
and this one. And a lot of other models.
Yeah, into this one event. And it's not like you even, like, say you're shooting a catalog piece, but, like, you still have 8 hours to shoot this many pieces. You kind of have the luxury of, like, some mistakes. In runway, you have this one show that you're putting on, and they want it to be perfect. And you also have to spend a lot of time there. Hurry up and wait. That's the catchphrase of the game. It is in other aspects of modeling as well, but you're there all day long, like makeup and hair and fittings and practice, down to the waiting in the runway show, and even afterwards. And, like, sometimes you're expected to be at after parties or meet and greets after, or, like, to take photos. And runway is a whole long day, and so is a day of shooting, but a day of shooting will pay better than the day of runway.
A lot better.
But runway's, like, where people get their start a lot.
And it's a lot of times where people get those big campaigns.
Yeah. So you'll often book a campaign because a designer likes you so much in an outfit, or they just like you as a person from the runway show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's really hard to, like, even connect with those designers, because that's when the designer sees so many girls that could, like, potentially be in their next campaign.
Yeah. And I've never... I don't think they really hold as many, like, campaign castings as they do for... A lot of times, like, I think the agencies will just send in the photos of the girls, or they'll just scout them out at the runway shows. But runway's a great way to get in because, like, a lot of times they'll do open calls, even though, like, open calls can be, like, a huge, like, so many people are, like, flooding it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I think, my ultimate thing about modeling is kind of, like, it's, like, a good thing and a bad thing, but I feel like, at the end of the day, like, modeling just kind of chooses you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something, like, you can really, like, force. Like, you can, like, hustle, but it's just, like...
You can get things.
Yeah, and you can get
I
things.
see girls hustling, but they usually want something different than what they have right now.
Yeah, so it's, like, always gonna be, like, the luck of the draw. It's not something you can just be, like... I'm gonna, like, work really hard and, like, that will lead to success.
And another thing to remember is, like, modeling isn't, like, luxurious. You don't just get to move to New York and, like, live with a bunch of other models in a nice apartment. No, like, you're usually in, like, a shoebox, and, like, the living situations are uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're, like, paying to fly out and stay in long-term, like, Airbnbs or hotels. Your feet are gonna hurt. You're gonna go to 1,000 castings and probably not even hear back from a lot of them.
And also, you're not like, it's not gonna make you any more beautiful or really desired. I kind of had this idea, too, like, as a young girl, like, if I was a model, then it's like, oh, guys want to be with a model, or... You know, you're really beautiful and sought after if you're a model, but it doesn't really change any of that, especially in these areas, like LA and New York. Everyone's a model and everyone says they're a model, even if they're not in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
So it's not really, if you're just kind of doing it for the namesake of it, it's not worth it. And it's not like you're gonna get these, like, beautiful pictures where you, like, feel like you look your best either, because it's not your vision. It's not, like, what you kind of think you look the best in or anything.
Yeah. It's
just, I don't know, a lot of times you're like, you look really wacky, which is, like, super cool, but it's not, like, a vanity thing.
Yeah, usually, like, most of my pictures I don't love, but I don't hate.
I can appreciate it for a work, most of my pictures, like, as, like, the art it is, but I don't look at it and think I look so beautiful.
I think, like, the photo always looks really cool, and, like, the picture is good, and, like, I look good, but it's not like, oh, like, that is my best picture.
Like, I can't wait to show everyone.
In my looks, yeah.
No, yeah.
And you kind of have to get used to that also, because you're going to see 1,000 pictures of yourself, and I've had times where I'm just looking through photo, and if I'm just in a bad, negative place about myself, then I think I just look bad in every photo, and it can be really draining, and emotionally speaking, it can just, like, really weigh on you.
And people will, it's also, if you're in an insecure place, it's like, like, I've had, not, like, most of my makeup people and hair people are very nice, but I've definitely had makeup people and hair people say, you know, like, why is your skin like this? Why is your hair like this? Like, this is, like, impossible to work with. You're gonna look terrible. Or, like, had just, like, kind of, like, rude comments said about my body by, like, other models. Like, it's not, like, an ego boost at all. It's, like, really gonna be hard to do if you are at all insecure.
Yeah, and it's also, if you're like, this vision of me being a model is, like, I'm, like, traveling with my model buddies. Like, we're all getting on, like, the VS private jet. Like, one, that doesn't really even happen anymore. Two, like, you're alone for, like, most of it. You're gonna, like, walk in, like, alone. Even if you're the most, like, confident model, you're walking in alone into a room full of beautiful girls, and it can be really hard, and you can have a lot of anxiety. You don't always have, like, a lot of support. If you hear someone say something, like, I can't imagine. There's just been countless times that you and I have looked over to each other and be like, I'm really glad that I have you right now, because if I didn't, I did this all alone, I don't know how I would do it.
Yeah, and it can just be, it even can be, I found it very lonely, even with my sister there and other models that I was friends with previously. Mm-hmm. It still, like, can be very lonely and scary. Mm-hmm. I haven't really ever felt like this is, like, my stomping ground. Like, this is, like, I felt, like, really at home, even when I know everyone and everyone knows me.
Yeah, I mean, and, like, this is, like, not to say that we know everything about it, and, like, our experience has been very, like, minimal, because we've only been doing this for about a year, and we just wanted to share what we know to be our experience, for people who want to perhaps try it, or just are curious to what the average model's experience is like, because I know we get, like, a lot of, like, VS model, like, POV, and, like, we listen to, like, Bella Hadid or, like, Kendall Jenner talk about things, but the average model's experience isn't like that. You don't have, like, $1 million penthouse to live in when you're walking shows. No one comes and picks you up and takes you to the venue. You're either spending money on Uber, you're taking the subway there and back.
Or you're walking.
And your feet hurt and you're changing heels, and, like, sometimes it looks really cool and, like Vogue Diaries.
And, like, the rush of it all. And I definitely thought it was very cool.
Yeah,
like, the first time I did it, but
eventually it gets tiring.
It's tiring, and it's like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
And it's, like, a lot of times, it's, like, you're, like, doing free labor or next to free labor, mm-hmm. and it's, like, you're just kind of, like, waiting for that, like, next, like, break. And, like, and I don't know, like, currently, as I sit here, I don't know if, like, that next break is ever going to come for me in modeling.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, is, like, models often look towards their next step to be, like, signing to an agency or getting out of their current contract to sign to a different agency, because they think that's going to, like, do better things for them. But sometimes, like, those agencies are just getting the same designers, they're getting, like, the same casting team, and it's, like, not anything is gonna really change, and it's, like, really hard because it's out of your control, and you can choose to try to sign with a different agency, but
your agency's not, like, working for you in the sense that they're, like, marketing you and, like, trying to get you gigs. They're just kind of, like, sending out so some calls are not open calls, they only go to the big agencies, mm-hmm. and they send those out to their models, but they just kind of want you to do the work and, like, to take the profit.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's just the truth of it. Not to say that they're evil or anything, and it's, like, of course you see some of that money too, but they're not, like, your advocator. Like, if you think, like, oh, once I get to this, like, agency, like, they're gonna, like, get me all these campaigns and, like, I'm gonna be, like, the next big thing because they're gonna be, like, advocating for me, like, that's, you just have to catch a lucky break because they can't do that for all their models.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean,
this sounds all really discouraging, but I mean what's your end goal with modeling here?
Because if you want to just get a big campaign, like, I mean, you can.
You definitely can. But
they just have to be looking for someone that looks like you, and maybe that's you.
And you have to kind of be hanging by your fingernails. Maybe you'll get lucky. I don't know who's listening. I don't know. Like, maybe you'll be lucky and get it out of the gate, but a lot of times you're just, like, kind of hanging by your fingernails, or going into debt, living in, like, a big city to try to, like, go to all these castings.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's, how much is your campaign gonna pay?
Depends.
It depends, but it could be, maybe you only see, a lot of times not enough to even for it to be worth
all those years.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Running around. And by the way, like, then your agency might take 20%, your manager might take 20%. If you have a PR agent, they might be taking 10 to 20%.
Yeah, and
you're not left with a ton, especially if you put in, like, forth a lot of effort into getting yourself there and been taking a lot of people on your team. And sometimes it takes a huge team to do that, but you're also signing away all of the profit.
And also, there's just so many risks that come with modeling. Like, so many models are trafficked. And I know people are like, well, a lot of times, like, I would think, like, well, those are just scam agencies, or those girls, like, fell for scams. Mm-hmm. But even, there's definitely been legitimate modeling agencies, and they're trafficking their girls.
And we've been at legitimate fashion shows, and there have been, like, a lot of illegitimate people there trying to prey on you, trying to get you to spend money taking pictures with them, trying to lure you into places alone. There are a lot of, like, sketchy or suspicious people around these events. Just because, like, they know that there are, like, young and beautiful, vulnerable girls around. And a lot of times, like, I've heard of models being, like, followed home, making sure they're, like, make sure you, like, walk home with someone because blah, 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 like, happened across the street. Maybe it was a fight. Maybe someone was, like, trying
and definitely
to take
things,
them.
Models have their stuff stolen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really unfortunate because, you know, obviously they're not making that much money.
Yeah.
Already. And then they're kind of like... And, like, you're also, as a model, you're already expected to pay for so many things. And not get compensated back. A lot of times, Yeah, a
lot of times they want you to pay to fly there, to stay. And then they kind of make this, like, almost, like, promise that they'll pay you back, but it doesn't necessarily always work out. Or it's, like, some kind of, like, we're gonna pay you this much and this much for compensation for, like, flight and hotel, even though that might not add up to what it actually would cost. Just things like that. So, like, it's kind of we always talk about having a model union the way the actors have an actor union.
Yeah, and there's none.
Because there's nothing really to protect models. And, like, we expect our agents and our managers to protect us, but at the end of the day, a lot of time they're part of the problem.
Yes.
A lot of girls want out of their contracts. A lot of girls have a bad agent. Sometimes their agents are just not even pushing them, even when they're asking for someone that looks like them.
And a lot of times your agency is telling you to, like, come out and, you know, pay for their model housing so you can, like, go out to castings. But it's like, that might be that agency's fail-safe of, like...
Because they're making rent.
We're not making enough money off of our books, right? Of our bookings, our models right now at the moment. So we're going to be making money off of...
girls paying for rent.
Yeah.
And I've also heard of, like, this is really terrible. And this is not a first-hand experience. But they will certain models will sign girls that look like them or are similar enough to them that they don't want them to take their work, so the agency will sign them and not send them out for stuff so that they're not allowed to, like, sign with a different agency and compete with their top model or their specific girl.
In, like, layman's terms, if we take, like, the beautiful Peyton here, she's blonde, brown eyes, and has, like, a baby face, and, like, a lot of brands really like her, and then it's like, oh no, there's another blonde, brown-eyed girl with a baby face.
That's going out for all my same roles.
And she signed with, like, George Management or whatever. Mm-hmm. So George Management is gonna sign that girl, and this girl's obviously very excited. She's unrepresented, and she's like, oh, you guys have Peyton George, like, she looks just like me, and, like, I'm gonna, like, book all of these big campaigns like Peyton. But they're gonna sign her and, like, make sure she's locked into that contract and make sure she can't get any work so that they can keep making money off their top girl, Peyton.
And keep her in the top spot.
Yeah.
So she's not just, like, half competing with someone else who keeps getting bookings.
Yeah, so in other words, you will be locked into a contract, unable to get work because your agency is purposely like sabotaging your career.
Yeah, and that's just part of what makes it.
Sydney, it's quiet on set.
So oftentimes the problem can also be the agency that you're with. Sometimes it can be just a number of things.
And these are all hard things, but at the end of the day, modeling can be like a very fun experience. I've had so many fun experiences from runway shows. I've made a lot of really good friends, and I've taken really cool pictures, but I mean, yeah, I'm just kind of struggling to.
Well, okay, I think what you're trying to say is that the way that I feel is I'm very grateful for the experiences that I had, such as going to New York, having other model girlfriends, and having great pictures and walking shows.
And I loved doing it.
Because it was a good experience, and I think up until now, like, I think if that's all that happens, then I'm so glad that I did it.
Oh, me too, yeah.
I'm so glad that I have these photos to show my children. I'm so excited that I got to travel and work when I did.
Yeah, and you can go really far with modeling. Like, you can become the next top model. Mm-hmm. Not on the reality show, but, you know, in real life. And
yeah.
But, yeah, at the end of the day, like, that's not... like, it's not, like, the, like, pinnacle or height of success by anyone's book. It doesn't make you the most beautiful girl in the world. It doesn't make you the richest girl in the world. It doesn't make you the most famous girl in the world. It's just...
And even if you are Bella Hadid, and you're technically said that you are the most beautiful girl in the world, it's like, okay, now what? You know, she doesn't feel that different.
Yeah, you're still you when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, you're just in your own head. You're just still at your same place wherever you decided to be. You are just... It's... A lot of people look at modeling as they can do it because they feel like, oh, I'm pretty enough, and they want that validation. But that's just, like, not the game of modeling. It's not the prettiest girls who book everything.
And it's not even all the times the most hardworking girls.
Yeah, it's not...
You're at the end of the day, you're kind of, like, a product or, like, this, like, piece of art almost. And it's, like, you're just, like, part of this big, like, catalog. And then it's like, oh, like, and it's just, like, a bunch of other people deciding, like, well, what do I feel like looking at today?
Yeah. The thing about modeling, too, is you don't really leave... I don't know. It's, like, you think, like, oh, like, 90s supermodels, like, they were beautiful and they left this big legacy, but they didn't really. I mean, you look at these photos and really it's, like the photographer's photos and the designer's clothes and the designer's show and the showrunner.
That magazine cover, it's like, no, that was like 1996 Vogue. It's not really like, that was like Christy Turlington. I mean,
and you just don't have that much say as a model into the artistic vision. So if you feel like, oh, like you want to leave a legacy, I don't like modeling's not really that way to go.
I think
you're just stuck in there as the face, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to be okay with not having input, and you have to be okay with just
not having autonomy over your own body in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's like being a mannequin. I mean, isn't that what it is?
Mannequin. The French word.
Don't do that.
Yeah! Shout out to our French viewers.
No.
I mean, yeah, now that I talk about it, it's just like, why would anyone want to be a model?
Now I kind of feel like I'm going to go into acting.
Because maybe then I'll be the prettiest,
most talented,
sought-after girl and richest girl ever, you know?
It's kind of just like this facade of being the face of everyone else's work.
Like acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modeling is being the actor of the fashion world.
Yeah, but it doesn't require as much talent.
Yeah, but, I mean, acting.
Acting's like the easiest part of the movie-making industry.
Well.
That's a little bit true.
Yeah. But I don't think it's easy. Modeling's not really easy either. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, I could be a model.
But no, you couldn't.
But it's like, would you actually be willing to, like, handle it? And would you actually be able to do it long term? I don't know. You just want to know that you're pretty? Sure, you're pretty.
And if you're a model, it doesn't mean you're pretty either.
Yeah, but it's just like the facade that people like feel like when they say I could be a model. Yeah, like look at my nice features. But that's like not that. Like really, what being a model is just staying in the game until someone picks you up.
Yeah, I mean,
because you just don't have any influence over it, really.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's why you hear about stories about, you know, I got picked up at a model or just, like, an agency scouted me out. It's because it just has to choose you the same way
it does have to choose you. And it's, like, even, like, as we, like, said, like, we were, like, submitting and we went to, like, this open call, it was, like, just, like, a stroke of luck and chance that we got to do anything. Because we wouldn't have been able to do it on our own.
And this seems discouraging, but you can help your chances by...
Here's what we did. Because I really wanted to be a model, and I was very much struggling. And I know Peyton really wanted to be a model, too. And we tried really hard, and we submitted to all the agencies, and we took all their little digitals, but at the end of the day, what we really did was, like, we just have to, like... I just let it go and gave it to God. I know Peyton did the same thing separately on her own account.
Yeah.
And I just let it go, and I said, this is fine. Like, I kind of want to do this, but if I'm not supposed to do this, then, like, there's nothing I can do. I can't, like, fight you on it. God, I was talking to God. And then, like, boom, 2 months later, I'm walking the runway.
Yeah, and so it's really this thing of, I think, just letting God have all your circumstances and just letting go of things. Because what else are you going to do? You can't grasp onto it so hard. And, like, we were tired after, like, every single day, like, finding this person's email and sending all our stuff and submitting to this site and this site and this site and this site and taking new digitals every single day and then getting this and that and, like, trying to, like, up our Instagram stuff. Like, it was just, like, we were
and at the end of the
doing a lot and none of that did anything.
It was just, like, when somebody decided, like, hey, maybe you should do it. Like...
Yeah, you just can't... You have no control over it, and... At the end of the day, you don't have any control over that much, really, except for how you feel and whether you're willing to let go of things. And I think letting go and letting God is the best way to go. Well, I don't
Especially,
know.
it's true. And I know, like, hustle culture is really big, where it's like, you're just not trying hard enough, and you just need to work harder and get up at 5 a.m. and do a cold plunge and work. And like, as if, like, and I think people really want to clasp onto that idea that will guarantee success, but at the end of the day, it won't. And
Plenty of people do that.
You're not in control of anything. Even if you do, like, everything right, and you're, like, an entrepreneur, and you invest in all the right things, and you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, everything is kind of just chance and luck, and it makes a lot of people really uncomfortable to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I almost feel like, in the sense of manifestation, the routine of getting up at 5 a.m., of always checking your emails, and of reaching out to certain people and cold emailing, or like, and like taking all these steps to achieve what you want to do. I feel like those steps are just a method of having you believe that you can do it, and that's a lot of times why it would happen.
It's like literally like, yeah, it's just a method of manifestation, almost, of just like training your brain that, like, hey, I could do this, because I just had to, like, I feel like we had to do this too, of just, like, training our brain to be like, well, modeling's easy, anyone can model. And we still say that, and we used to say that before we could model. And, like, you just have to kind of, like, believe it fully and, like, to your core, and it's, like...
And then just not, like, put so much weight on it. Like, it's just modeling. Like, modeling, in our heads, too, modeling was just, like, a stepping stone to get other places.
Yeah, modeling is almost like a stepping stone. I don't think any girl out there or any guy should be like, modeling's my end game.
Yeah, no.
Because it's just not sustainable.
And I don't know why anyone would want to do it that long.
Yeah, and it's like...
Not that I don't love it, and, like, I really enjoy it, and I like doing the things, and I like trying on new clothes, and I like walking the runway, and I like practicing my runway walk, and I like the people in fashion, but would I want to do that forever? Absolutely not.
No, me either, and it's, like... But if modeling is, like, you're so passionate about it, I think you can make it your career, in the sense of, like, running a modeling agency and, like, you know, doing things like that.
And by the way, we need some better people out there running agencies, because...
It's a lot of... It's hard.
The girls are young, and they need guidance, and they need proper guidance, and sometimes they need reassurance, and sometimes to get out of a model what you need from them, you have to be really delicate about, and not every agent goes about that the right way.
Yeah.
It's a delicate situation, so I feel like we need more, like, compassionate people who are genuinely interested in models running modeling agencies and getting the best out of them, and not just, like, trying to profit off of them. It almost seems like a lot of negative experiences that I've had with agencies trying to profit off of models and or actors, seems like they are almost have, like, a grudge against them a tiny bit.
Yeah, those who can't do agent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes, but...
That was just a joke.
But... No, I know, because people say that that's in, like, one of the books that I read, like, Hollywood book, but, yeah, I think that...
There's a lot of hurt that goes in, like, a lot of rejection that goes into the industry, and it can form a lot of bitterness around these people, and you can take on a lot of that negativity from people around you, even from people you wouldn't suspect, like, your hometown friends or your family. There might feel like, even if they've never tried to be a model, I've just found, like, that so many people have this, like, pent-up, like, rejection of, like, or, like, old dreams of wanting to be a model that I had no idea. And that came out when, like, you and me started modeling.
Yeah.
And I did, like, take on a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really hard, especially because no one can tell you who was going to be the next big model or, like, the next big actress or the next big director or whatever, because, like, there are so many people that are immensely talented and immensely attractive and like have everything that you would assume that you need, but that's not always who it is. And it's not always the most talented, it's not always the most beautiful, and like no one like really can understand how to pick that. Otherwise, you know, you would just be
like, we'd have a formula for it.
Yeah, and there is none.
And we'd just be pumping out Christopher Nolan's left and right.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you just don't have that, and like, and I think that can kind of create like a lot of like bitterness in agents and like people around the industry, because then they think like, well, this person, like, I thought they had it all, blah blah blah, like, why would you have it? And like, maybe you are the person that has it, and you just need to find the person that believes in you and is willing to go as far as you want to go, and they are on the same page as you.
And at the end of the day, if modeling's meant for you, I really think, like, it'll just kind of fall into your lap. That's the other models' experience I've experienced, and that's my own personal experience.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I want to leave you knowing that when things feel wrong in your gut, especially in modeling, because it can be such a dangerous territory, like, that's when you just need to turn around and leave. Even, I don't care if it's the biggest agency of
even
now.
if it's like you like the top brand like show, and you're like, but this is like Burberry or whatever, like, I don't know, like, this is like Gucci, like, I have to do this like shoot. No, you don't. You don't have to do it. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not worth your virtue. It's not worth your safety. Like, no, especially as a model, no job is worth your, like, risking yourself.
And don't want it so bad that, like, when this random New York guy comes up to you and is like, I can make you the next VS Angel, like, here's my number, or come with me. Like, no. Don't want it so bad that you get yourself into a bad situation like that. Just, you need to be able to trust yourself, and you're never going to be able to make it, like, even if you're signed to a big agency, like, how are you going to make it if you can't trust yourself and stay to what you know and believe is true and your own values? You need to stay true to that. Otherwise, like, that's where things just get so lost and corrupt.
Because if you're just like, well, none of my values matter to me as much as, like, being the top model or being rich and famous and beautiful, which, like, okay, like, I can't, like, speak, I mean, that's your own choice, but, that's a lot of times where you're gonna find yourself in situations like trafficking, or, you know, maybe you're, like, being prostituted and you don't know how you, like, ended up here, and that's a very real thing in modeling.
Yeah.
And
you could end up, like, taking on, like, a lot of debts for something, like, you know, like, really believing that this is gonna work out, so you fly out to New York, or there's, like, the photo shoots in the Maldives, like, you just need to be there, and, like, we'll use you. If you don't have anything in writing, like, it doesn't really say that. And you need to be careful of the contracts that you sign as well. Like, I know this has been a point of anxiety for me, because seeing certain contracts and certain wording can be worrisome. Also, a lot of times they'll present you with a contract, expect you to sign it, and then present you with a lot of other things that they expect from you or want from you, or, like, kind of have put you in a bad situation. You just need to be able to trust that everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to, and if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you. That needs to be okay. Like, for me, I'm like, if this is as far as I go, if I've only walked a couple shows, if I've only walked New York Fashion Week and I've never gone international, I've never gone to Paris Fashion Week, even though I would like to, that's going to be enough. That's fine. I'm going to be okay with that. I'm still going to be me, and I'm still going to be happy, and I'm not going to give everything that I have in order to do that. Like, in order to walk Dior in Paris.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like, even if somebody, like, told me, or, like, was, like, if I was, like, making all this money as a model, and then, like, somebody, you know, calls me up, or, like, my agency's like, well, you're not the look anymore, you're not beautiful anymore, and you're not good enough to be our model anymore, so, like, and, like, the whole industry decided to, like, shun me or whatever, like, it doesn't take away from you as a person at all, and you as a model is not, like, intrinsically, like, even tied to your beauty or, like, how hardworking you are. Yeah. Like, it's just so, and we sound really wishy-washy, we're like, well, you just have to let it be, and, like, or, like, kind of, like, hippy-dippy, I guess is the better word, but, but that's just kind of how you have to be as a model, almost, because it's just, like, I don't want to say, like, not a real job, but it's just not a linear job.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like you can just, like, work from point A to point B. You have to let it go.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't be a model, but you have to let, like, the control of your career go a little bit.
I mean, yeah, and there's just so much that you just can't be in control of, and you have to be able to trust your manager or agent or multiple agents with your career, because at a certain point it's really out of your hands, and you're no longer you, the model, but it's like your name that is a team.
Yeah, and it's like, if your desire is to be the face of a team, that's okay. I mean, that's fine, but it's also, it's not, that doesn't mean you're in charge of the team, and it doesn't mean you're making the most money. You're just are what people are seeing. And if you're cool with that, then that's very cool.
Yeah, also don't ever think that you're gonna, like, reach this pinnacle of success in modeling and then, like, everything is gonna be good, or you'll be able to, like, say what you actually mean. No. If you don't do it now, like, it's not gonna happen.
Even, like, you can be the top model and still you could be, like, literally the top model, the most famous model in the world, and still being, like, sold off, like, as a prostitute.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, yeah, your level of success is never gonna define how safe you are, especially in modeling.
Yeah.
Like, you're always gonna be, like, at risk of having your career taken away and of being put in dangerous situations.
It's true.
That was a good point to bring up. That was just me adding on to Payne's point, but yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to, one, be aware of the dark sides of the industry, have tough skin, and then let it be if it's meant to be or not meant to be. And, like, know that everything will just work out exactly how it's supposed to.